SpaceX satellite has broken into pieces in orbit. This happened on December 18th, 2025. SpaceX calls it an anomaly. This is an interesting coincidence, you could say, because I just talked about, I just presented my new formula in physics that I have deduced. I came up with a formula from a mathematical paradox, and this shows that when looking into this formula and putting the actual numbers um, of the constellation of the satellites, when putting that into the formula, we you see that there is too many satellites, and there is even a number to measure this, so that there is a probability for a cascade. Okay, so this is something that I talked about, and we already like a few days ago I talked about this, right? So here's a post from 9 days ago that I discovered this formula, and the consequence is that um, most satellites in low Earth orbit will soon be destroyed. I'm going to show you some. So this is a video with most most of my presentation, where I show how I deduce the formula. I put in the numbers, and I give you this. How do you say? Yeah, I use this paradox in mathematics, a birthday paradox, to calculate this new, or um, to deduce the formula that is showing that there's too many satellites. Let's look at, again, I updated with the latest numbers here when it comes to SpaceX satellites, Amazon satellites, and satellites in general also. Let's begin with SpaceX satellites, okay? And I have sources for this. So um, SpaceX satellites, they have 8,000 of them, I'm assuming, and or there is something around that number, if I remember correctly. Wait, I have to check quickly. Um, uh, yeah, okay, it's um, around 9,300 in as of 2025. So let's use that instead. Um, but most sources say 8,000, so let's use 8,000 instead. But there is some modern variant of that. So 8,000 is what they say, most sources. And the dimensions are, I'll soon give you the result of this. I'm just explaining a bit that 2.8 meters long, 1.4 meter wide. I will guess that it's 1 meter high, and that's if you assume that there is generation 2 and 3 in space. And here are some of the dimensions of the Starlink satellites. So I'm kind of using that early Starlink, and I'm assuming that as they get larger, this 0.3 meter get larger, you could say. So I put that into 1 meter, and I'm still using lower size than the actual. I believe, at least, or there's something around this number. It's hard to know exactly the size of the satellite, so I'm kind of assuming one of the dimensions to be 1 meter, and the result is that it has the side of 1.557 meters side length for a cube. Okay, a cube with same sizes of each sides, and the place where those satellites is in this span. There's many sources, 530 to 570 kilometers. That's where SpaceX satellites are. And if we run this calculation, you see that, oh, it's a really big number now. So 1971% chance for cascade. This is what the latest numbers are showing. Earlier I used a lower number here, like if we would have the size smaller for the satellite, let's say 0.9, okay, then there would be a totally different wait, yeah, then we're down to 490%. That's what I found in my previous presentation, where I assumed another length here, but it should be bigger, so that's why I have this size, and suddenly it becomes really a big chance for a cascade. 1.9 or 1971% chance for cascade. That's really high. Well, there's actually about the same chance for Amazon. So if you look into Amazon's dimensions, they are a bit different, and I have sources for that also, so that there are actual numbers here. 3,236. These are not yet deployed. They will be deployed. SpaceX satellites are already up. Amazon are about to have their satellites in space. They already have some, but they will have this constellation, this bigger thing, you know, when it, yeah. And if we put in the numbers here, you see that, okay, it's a bit bigger. This Amazon satellite is a bit bigger. It's 2 times 2 and 10 times in height, so I put it into 2 meters, just assume something. You know what? You could put smaller here also, but I'll try to lower that also. So it's 2 meter side length, 40,000 or 40 kilometer in delta height. Delta height for the, oh, it should be for the Amazon satellite. And what is the result? Well, we're going to run that. 1470%. So it's actually quite close to SpaceX. Still, it's far too much. And what this means is that, I mean, you can already see that, I mean, so December 18th, they had a problem here in SpaceX satellites. It's falling apart. And as I said, well, maybe I should look more into this formula here and just show you what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm using the here. I've marked something on the screen here. This is the birthday paradox, and I use the kind of how would I explain it? Maybe the probability for one orbit to hit another orbit in a certain height, at a certain height, a fixed height. Both satellites are in the same. So now I'm talking about this one. Both satellites are in the same height. And what is the probability for one of these satellites to cross the other satellites orbit for yeah, something like that. Yeah. And then you use this and you kind of invert that and make it into something that has to do with the number of days. Like when it comes to this birthday formula, you have like normally you have 365 days, but instead you have 1 divided by um, oh, I already inverted it here, so D is already inverted. Yeah, like, yeah, it's a bit hard to explain it, but I have explained it in where is it? Uh, in this video, I explain it in detail. Um, so, mm, so what this shows is that, yeah, there is really, I mean, once it gets going, there is, I don't know how to explain, you know, it's just, it's doomed, you know, it's doomed. This video is called mutual assured destruction. It is a calculation of the Kessler syndrome that I'm doing, but and this is a new way of calculating that, which means that, what does that mean that it's a new way? Well, it means that it didn't exist earlier, and that means that they couldn't have known, you know, SpaceX couldn't have known, Amazon couldn't have known, because they didn't have this information. They didn't know about this formula. And that's why there is so high. That's why it's so bad, because they failed, you know. You see here? That's what my formulas are, or my calculations are showing. It shows that they're going to be destroyed, these satellites. And that's mathematics. It's simply a mathematical certainty that it's going to happen. Okay. And the good part about what I'm showing here is that it's a very simple deduction. It's a very simple logic to understand this formula here that I'm showing. And the way that this is simple and clean, you know, you could say. There is no advanced simulation here. It's just the only step is that once you understand the paradox of the birthday paradox, and you realize that you can um, it's applicable for this kind of problem. Once you realize that you have that formula, or once you realize that, you see that what I presented here actually makes sense. So yeah, so it's a very simple thing to. So if you just have a little bit of logic in your mind, go watch this video, because it's actually simple to understand this, in my opinion. And then you can also see that, according to my own calculations here, their satellites are going to be destroyed. It's simply how do you say? It's simply going to happen. And then space is kind of ruined for, I don't know, 50 years or something like that. 50 years. And so here I calculated on I didn't tell you. This is for, I updated the number, so this is the total amount of satellites right now in orbit, and I disregard space debris. I'm just doing a calculation here in general of this height span here. And I'm just assuming a few things here. So this is debris cascade in general for this distance, this delta distance, 400 to 600 kilometers. And I disregard any initial space debris even. I do this calculation. Assume that 85% of satellites are in this span, and the result is that it's still 166% chance of a cascade in this span of the most important, the most populated satellite span. So it's this whole situation is just game over. Okay. And my new formula is showing that. I'm going back a bit. My new formula is showing that, and it's very simple and logical how I deduce that, which means that if let's assume that let's assume that I did something wrong when I deduce this formula. Well, someone should have told me. Okay, someone should have told me, oh, you did this thing wrong, because it's so simple logic that I do it. Yeah, it's a new formula in physics that has an application. Okay, it's not a physics law, this thing but it's rather something that is applicable to orbits of debris and things like that ruin space exploration. So if I would have been wrong here, someone with a little bit of brain would have told me. But this is a very simple, yeah, because this is so simple to deduce. There's no, I mean, directly when you realize that the birthday paradox is applicable, you directly see this formula. You can basically deduce this formula yourself if you just did a little bit of math in your life. I think you can do that. And so, yeah. So it would have been an entirely different situation here if my formula would have been complicated to find. Yes, but this is simple. So the situation is looking, looking really, really bad, and we see how the news is giving some indication of that now when there is a SpaceX satellite that is being destroyed. Yeah, and I suspect, or I highly suspect that, I mean, I do believe that we're going to see more of this news because of the fact that this is valid, like this formula is valid, and the validity of this formula makes it so that the satellites must be destroyed, and that's why we're going to see more news of this, and that's also why. Wait a moment. That's also why we had. Where did I put that image? All the satellite. No, what am I going to tell you? Downloads. Here it is. Okay. So the Economist magazine has satellites in it. World Ahead 2026. We see satellites, 3 of them, and the Economist magazine is known for having occult symbolism and like hidden codes in it, or giving light to what is to come. So we see some symbolism of that. We had many astronauts being saved from space. We had Chinese astronauts with their return craft being destroyed. That was in November of 2025. We had some at ISS that had to be saved by SpaceX um, craft, and so yeah, we already have some data here when it comes to the news that what is happening, but it's just people have their dreams. You know, a dream is people get lost in their dreams. People get lost in their dreams and they believe that, yeah. So there is this, I think there is this refusal to see this as a probability because people dream of space, so they refuse to think about this. And when it comes to this kind of cascade that I've been talking about, the thing is that it is a slow exponential rise of this um, of this phenomena of cascade of debris and satellites. So what that means is that there's never any feedback for those that launch satellites to space. They launch it to space and they feel proud. Oh, they tell their girlfriend, oh, I shot a satellite to space, and then they make love, something, I don't know. It's just people feel so accomplished. I think when they have things in space, you know, they're able to leave Earth and go to space, right? And they feel accomplished. Well, there is a slow feedback of what actually happens. So yes, people feel accomplished when going to space and when putting a lot of things in space, and the feedback is slow, and eventually everything is destroyed all at once. And that's and not only that, then it's also 50 years of doing nothing in space, or 100 or 50 years of doing nothing. Space is just stops being as a industry. No more space industry. Maybe at very low Earth altitude there could be something, but that's too expensive because you have to keep the satellites in orbit if they're too low, and that's too expensive. So it's not going to happen, I think. So yeah, it's it's looking it's looking like I thought. You know, we're starting to see some news. SpaceX satellites destroyed, and they say it's an anomaly. So yeah. And also people refuse to even look at. I had no like no one is criticizing what I'm doing. No one is verifying what I'm doing, and it's because it's all a bunch of cocksuckers. Okay, as I say, people just suck cock all day long. That's what they do, and they lick ass, and they have nothing. In actuality, they have nothing, and that's why no one is arguing against my formula. No one is supporting what I do when it comes to my formula. It's a new formula for physics, but that's going to basically pull the pants down on all of those that are shooting satellites in space. They're going to be humiliated by this formula here. And yeah, this is a humiliation, this formula of yeah, because it's based on math, sound math, and when it's ignored, uh, the there's a lot of people that's going to be humiliated from that. Yeah. So it's going to cascade. Is what I say. And I see it in my calculation that is using their own data. So, and this data up here, it comes from NASA. I showed that in my other, in my presentation. Where was that? In this one. Okay, I'll need to end now. Bye.